Today's Japanese slang term is morochin. This term has two main uses. The first is just straightforward to mean exposed male genitalia. In this use, the moro comes from this adverb, which means that something is conspicuously visible. I've actually talked about it previously in another video that also related to exposed male genitalia, as it is a key part of the phrase morodashi, which has a number of meanings, but one is a term used among sumo fans as like a casual or vulgar in both the inappropriate and common sense of the term version of the word fujomake, which is literally an impure defeat, which is a defeat that is handed down to you if your genitals come out of your loincloth. That's not allowed. And again, while this is not what the official sumo rules call this type of disqualification, it has appeared in major sumo publications and was actually immortalized in an old NES sumo game where you could get a victory by pulling down your opponent's loincloth. But while what is being dasued in morodashi is, I guess, arguably a bit vague, indeed, that phrase has seen use just to mean like some kind of emotions, etc. becoming visible. With morochin, the chin, of course, comes from words like chinchin or chimpo, which directly refer to the male genitals. So in a picture like this, which I have censored for obvious reasons, that's what it means. And in a statement like this, where somebody says that they saw a lot of morochin at the both genders' onsen, they're just talking about exposed genitalia, which is something you will see at an onsen that men can go to. Oddly, Pixiv, when talking about this word, claims it was adopted into English as mlo-team, but there's no hits for this on Urban Dictionary and only 3 hits ever on Google, so I think that somebody just lied to them. And I did try a number of different spellings, but if you've ever used mlo-team ever, I guess let us know. And there you go. So normally we just end and say that's what the word means, it's done, but actually if you see morochin online, it's very likely that the cause is its second use, because this is just a very common misspelling of mochiron, which means of course. Now, I don't think there's any question that the fact that this misspelling happens to look and sound exactly like a word for exposed male genitals is one of the reasons why this misspelling is popular and people do it intentionally, but it is one that just happens like naturally as Japanese people make typos. The most famous example of this is probably the second Ace Attorney game, which was released in 2002, and famously has this scene in Japanese. You can say that you will expose male genitalia, interrogate someone, or not interrogate somebody. And this error keeps happening. For instance, this screenshot, I believe, is from the game Fate Grand Order, which is more recent, and it has a morochin in it to mean mochiron. Indeed, because this error is so common and well known, there are people like this who state that they avoid writing mochiron in katakana because they're worried that people will, even if it's spelled correctly, read it as morochin. And some people intentionally put them together, as in this person here, who states that after this scene, there will of course be exposed male genitals, which I think means they're gonna, do some things with their spare time. I love data. Anyway, because of all this then, Japanese people have been using morochin intentionally to mean mochiron because it's kind of funny and it sounds vulgar. In 2026, though, this is still happening, but interestingly, it's been particularly adopted and embraced by a specific Japanese online community. And because I'm a professor, and I guess you're kind of my students, I don't know, hope you're enjoying your free tuition, let's do a quick quiz. Which of these communities that I've talked about do you think are the ones that are using this? Did you guess Kuriman? Well, you are correct. Because, as you know, or as a crash course for those who are joining us for the first time, Kuriman are fans of a specific Japanese talent named Alan-sama, and they use a particular variety of Japanese known as Kurimango, which is noted for a number of mixed features, including odd emoji and indeed the use of various polite forms, but also very vulgar forms mixed in. And so, of course, a word for mochiron that sounds exactly like exposed male genitals is something that they would delight in, as this kuriman here absolutely is delighting in when talking about onions that they got for free, or as they phrase it, morochin tada. Here's another example where somebody is literally quote tweeting Alan-sama, and not only do they say morochin to mean mochiron when talking about their view on internet ethics, they actually put the eggplant and the sweat emoji after it, which you can figure out the implications. I don't need to explain emoji to Zoomers. You all know what these things mean more than I do. But the joke is, of course, to push the sexual implications, despite the fact that in context, it just means of course. Surprisingly, though, as most Kurimango are actually developed and kind of spread into the community by Alan-sama themselves, Alan-sama has only used morochin, as far as I can tell, once, and in the form here where they attach po at the end, because again, vulgar jokes, ha ha ha. So the use of morochin by Kuriman actually seems to be an innovation and something delighted in more by the community rather than Alan-sama themselves, which is just a thing to note, I guess, but that's my job, I'm noting things. Anyone who's watched this channel knows that if someone were to ask you, will Wes go into excruciatingly unnecessary detail about a word that is really not worth knowing at all, the answer, of course, would be exposed male genitals.